So another little update on the Southern U-Class that I'm rebuilding, which is produced by Southeastern Finecast, so it's mostly white metal. We can see here a number of parts that I bought at the beginning of the week. Most of these are from mainly trains. I think all of them are from mainly trains actually. Apart from the markets bits that you can see here. So I'll take you through what I got from mainly trains first. First of all, I got another Southern Railway tent top. You can see I've rubbed this down a bit and repainted it. It still needs a little bit of work. I've only roughly painted this, so I need to line it and put Southern Railway transfers on. I picked this up for £2, or £2 I should say, so it's got a little step in the running plate, as you can see. So it matches what is on 1638 at the moment. I'll replace the buffers as well with the ones you've just seen. I'm still trying to get a chassis for that, so that's still in progress. The other things that I purchased this week, I'll continue with the mainly trains bits. So I got some steam or vacuum pipes, whatever you want to call them. I think they're Romford ones or Gibson ones. These are Allen Gibson short or small handrail knobs. These are to replace the parts around the boiler, around the smokebox area I should say. If I take you to the logo, you can see there's not one actually on the end there at all. And also on the smokebox there's supposed to be a handle across the middle. You can see I've already started to remove that, so that will be replacing that as well. Also, I mentioned before, I bought some safety valves. Nice brass turned ones. I believe they're markets again. They're I think they're the tall Ross Pop safety valves, and as you can see on the model there, I've already removed the casting or the cast of safety valves, as well as the whistle, which will be made from I believe it's a Hornby brass whistle, which I need to turn down a little bit. So that's the plan for that area. Also I've got some bronze pickup wire, as you can see there. That's to redo the underside pickups on the loco, and also add some to the tender as well, as it's not got any on it at the moment. I'll bring you up to speed on the loco itself. I've actually refixed the front end. You can still see there's some gaps. I've replaced the bit of metal missing underneath the smoke box with a bit of plastic card there. I've removed all the details and castings off the front. I've also cleaned this bit up quite nicely, so I can put some new smoke deflectors on when I find some. The next stage of this will be to fill in the area around the, I think it's the expansion link, just to fill it over and rejoin it with the running plate. That's to do that on both sides. But the main change today, I mean, before, you've probably seen on the pictures, before there was a bit of brake rigging along the front of the wheels, which isn't correct. It should be in the middle, and I've now added those to the underside. You can see here, you can see there's no pickup wire or anything on the wheels at the moment, so it still runs nicely and freely at the moment. You can see the brake rigging along from the back there to the front. That's where they should have been, not on the outside. As you can see, there's still a bit of wire protruding past the wheels, so I need to cut that down and be flush with the brake block. But other than that, it's going reasonably well. I still need to make a lot of changes around the back end here, because it's just a block of white metal. So a lot of filing and a lot of tweaking still needs to be done. But hopefully that's the start of it, and we can continue once once I get it back on the track for a start, once all the actual spare parts are found. As I mentioned, I'm still waiting for a chassis for the tender, and also spares from Bachmann, so I can put the smoke deflectors on and the steps on, and then we can progress with painting and getting it ready for painting, I should say, and then connecting the tender, etc., and electronics. So it should be there in a couple of weeks, hopefully, or should start on that in a couple of weeks. I just thought I'd show you one of the safety valves I have here. These are the Rosspop tool version of the safety valves, which I believe are on the U-Class. I've just been drilling the holes here to fit the safety valves, or to check the fit of the safety valves. And I've drilled a small hole and also a larger hole, so the sort of the lip of the safety valve, which I'm in here. Hopefully you can see it, or maybe not. There we go. So you can see there's a lip around the bottom of the safety valve there. If I put it in, it actually stands quite high out of the safety valve housing. Just try and get that in there. There we go. So it will just sort of sit quite high out, as you can see. It's way too high. So what I've done is I put it in the drill and turned one of the safety valves down, which you can just see down here. I won't zoom in too far. There we go. As you can see, I've turned the lip down, so there isn't a lip there to stop it going any further. So this one actually sits quite nicely now. If I can just zoom in on that. I'll just stick the reprofiled one in. And as you can see, it sits a lot lower now out of the housing, which is a lot better. So that's one way of getting around the height issue instead of chopping it off. I just thought I'd stick that in because it's one way of getting around how tall they are and getting them to look right in the housing. I'll take these out before painting. It's not going to be stuck in there beforehand. All the brass parts, all copper parts, etc. are put on after painting. I just thought I'd stick this bit in to show you how it's been changed or modified. Okay, a little bit more progress on the U-Class. As you can see, I've purchased some brass rod. As you can see, I have 1mm brass rod to do some of the pipe work to the smoke box. This was actually bought from E-Hatton's. I think for a couple of quid, I think. You can see on this side as well. Just zoom in there just a little bit. The running plates around the expansion link hasn't been filled in on this side. But if we turn it round, you'll see I have actually filled it in on this side. So that's been actually filed and cleaned up. I just need a bit of filler around the area just to make it blend in alright. Also found some copper wire to do all the pipe work around the steps and around the cylinders. That's probably cost a couple of quid, but it seems quite a reasonable price I found it for. Buffers have been fitted on the front. I need to relocate the mounting point for the hook, or the coupling hook and the chain. But generally it's going quite well, so just need to still find some more bits, especially with smoke deflectors, and more bits for the tender as well. But that's it for another small update on the loco side of the U-Class. Okay, I thought I'd show you a little bit more of what I'm doing. This is sort of a part focusing on the tender assembly. I'll start, as most of you will know now, I'm starting to use the N-Class tender with this U-Class. It's the actual, the tender that came, or what I'm using is the tender of 1406, the non-smoke deflector N-Class, and I've been using the chassis of my 1406 chassis on a tender body that I bought from Mainly Trains, which you can see at the top of the shot here. I have actually started painting this up and putting the lining on it, as you can just about see. So that's in progress. But I needed another tender chassis to put the body on, and thankfully James Mower, the guy who actually painted and did my Sir Archibald Sinclair tender, which you might have seen on the on YouTube on another video covering the Battle of Britain Hornby model, which has been modified, which I showed you on there. He had a spare tender of the description I was after, which would fit the 1406 Bachmann tender top, and you can see it here, which I'm very thankful for James for sending it. It's very kind of him. I've painted the chassis matte black, as you can see, but this next part is probably a bit tricky. I was going to put tender pickups on the actual tender chassis to pick up off the tender wheels. As everybody knows, the Bachmann tenders don't usually have tender pickups on, so I had to invent my own. This would have either been on some solder tag board or some other sort of electronic board, but what I found was the Hornby Schools has the same wheel spacing on the tender as the N-Class, and Peter's Spares does the tender pickups as a spare part. So I bought some tender pickups which arrived this morning, and I've assembled them, as you can see here, with the bronze pickup wire on there. This is the base, and I've actually hired it up a little bit because it sits a little bit too low on the Bachmann chassis. So I put about 4 strips of plastic card all glued together there, mounted on the underside, and as you can see the wires go through a small channel through the 2 blocks to get to the front, where a small 2mm plug will be attached. So basically that will just sit in the chassis. You can see here, you can see it's been modified slightly with some cutouts on the plastic which goes across the chassis, and this section here will just hopefully drop in there, which I think it's just done. There you go. But you can see the wheel spacing is pretty much the same if I get it square. That's square enough. You can see there it lines up with each axle box, and this is now at the correct height for the wheels to clip in. This will be glued to the underside, and then the holes to attach the tender top will be drilled all the way through, and there'll be some screws on the top of the actual tender pickups, which I have here just above, and these just clip in and screw tight onto the back plate there. So that's how I'm doing the tender pickups. Obviously there is other methods of doing it, but that's the way I'm doing it, and it cuts down on a lot of work and buying extra components, which will probably cost more than £2 something. So I decided to use the Hornby ones instead. So now we have a Hornby Bachmann model. Who would have thought it? Some people may be asking how I'm going to attach the tender to the actual loco. I'm using some 1mm brass wire, which will be looped around the screw, which attaches, you can probably just about see it there, which attaches the tender top to the chassis, and that will go through the hole in the front of the tender, which you can see there. I mean, that will sort of dogleg downwards and attach to the loco with another piece of bent, probably semicircular brass wire attached at the back of the drag box on the model. But that's where we're at the moment, anyway, on the building of it. Still awaiting some handrail knobs for the loco body. Then we'll start sort of painting it up then, and attaching the smoke deflectors. But that's progressing slowly, but we are getting there bit by bit, and hopefully we'll get round us in the next bit when everything has arrived, which will hopefully be by the end of the week, and then we can start doing the painting process